Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the early late nights live here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network, being filmed live in front of a live studio audience. It's so live, it's live. I present your host, the man with the most, Ciaran Marchant. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It is a pleasure to be back. What's going on? How's everybody's week started? My week's been busy, but it has been an interesting one. It's a little drip and dreary right here in Shepparton, but that will not stop the show unless the power goes out. The show wouldn't be on if the power goes out, I guess. What's going on? I hope you have had a good day. I hope you had a good Amazon Prime day. I hope you're not one of those people that can't resist a good deal, because I hope your wallet's in a happier place. Mine's actually pretty good for once, but that's because Amazon Prime Day was like the day before payday, so I couldn't blow like my rent money on Amazon Prime goodies. But there was a whole range of fantastic deals, so I hope you picked up a good stuff and got into some great games. I think I saw like GTA 5 for a good price. There was Captain Toad, which is probably a little annoying that Captain Toad was for a pretty good sale, but you know. It's what we do. It's what we do. It's we give up things and we go through and we move forward. But this is Early Late Nights, and I'm your host, Ciaran Marchant. Thank you very much for joining us right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network every Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Tonight, got a sad show in places, and then a happy show, and then a happy show, and then a severely impressed show. So he goes down, but then he goes all the way up. So, you know, we're going to go to interesting places today. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be discussing the hopeful Commandos reboot, going back to Tales from the Table, as well as discussing the Uncharted fan film that was just released starring Nathan Fillion. But we're going to kick things off with the person that's in the thumbnail, if you've noticed. The person in the thumbnail. If you don't know, that's a bloke named Jason. And he has a mum that he likes to please. He likes to please his mother, but she's dead. There's a whole thing. And if you're a fan of the Friday the 13th movie series, you probably definitely would have tried out the Friday the 13th game that was released by Gun Media end of like mid last year. And it was a fantastic game. It was right around, it's been 12 months since the game was released. It has been a fantastic, you know, community game that people have got together and played. We've had great times here at the Explosion Network. It's sad to hear that an ongoing lawsuit that was being had between the developers of the game and a previous IP owner for the movies of Friday the 13th has gone to a decision where Gun Media and the devs can't actually make any more new content for the game. So Friday the 13th has kind of come to its end. It's not going to get any more new content. It's not going to be developed anymore by Gun Media. It's just going to be as it is now, is the state that this game is going to be in. And for me, I think it's quite sad in many ways, because Friday the 13th, even though it had a buggy start and people were let down by its beginning, and it then had this great uprising of friends playing together. If you go back through the earlier streams or the VODs that we uploaded from the Explosion Network when we first started this Twitch channel, one of our highlights and one of the things that inspired us to play more games was Friday the 13th and playing together, playing with Ash and Dylan and Nick. And it was such a fun experience. There's so many moments that you look back and remember with Nick fooling Dylan that, you know, that he wasn't the killer. And going through that experience and seeing different plays unroll. There's my epic sax party with Ash trying to find me and running away for him for the last 2 minutes and actually surviving. It has been such a fantastic game. It's just been marred by problems with bugs, and then the developers were rumored not to be supporting the game anymore, and then the developers came out with a roadmap saying, hey, this is the roadmap of DLC that's going to be coming out, and they started bringing out DLC content, they started bringing out new characters, and it was all fantastic. It was all really good. And then they kind of, they released an update, and then they put that roadmap on pause. But they didn't tell anybody that they put that roadmap on pause. They didn't actually come forward and pause the roadmap. It was in the background. And then this lawsuit has finally passed through, and we can't get any more content for this game, even though single player content that was promised has just been released for the game. It was fantastic in many ways. it's just it's a sad development, really. You've really got to look through it and marvel at the thing that it was. It was great. And if you really appreciate the game and you want to support Friday the 13th and Guns Media even more, go ahead and on September 14th, they're actually releasing the Ultimate Slasher edition of the game as a physical collector's edition, which is including, I believe it's got a Jason mask, it's going to have all the DLC, it's going to have some some artwork from the game, and it's coming out September 4th, so, that'll be the last hurrah for the game, the last final surge for the game, and it's really quite sad that IP has gotten in the way of the growth of this game. That we haven't been able to really produce. They haven't been able to get past this IP dispute, even though so many people started this game on Kickstarter and the support this game had. For me, it's sad. It's a letdown. But, there's many games, if you don't want to play Friday the 13th or you want to move on to a game that's going to be more updated, make sure you check out Dead by Daylight. It's another very similar game. Bit of smaller kind of focus to a game, but it's still fantastic. You should definitely go check that out, featuring killers like Michael Myers and Freddy. And I've been playing a little bit of that recently, and it's fun. You should definitely go check it out if you like Friday the 13th. But please, keep supporting Friday the 13th. Remember the good times. Hopefully we could organise maybe a last hurrah for the four of us to hang out and play some Friday the 13th here on stream, which I think would be pretty fun, and say goodbye to Friday the 13th, because it was a good game. It had its problems, had its bugs. It was janky as all fuck sometimes, but it was still amazing and still lovable, and I had a lot of fun with it. So thank you very much. Now, as a kid, I had a stage in my life where I really love PC games. I have those stages regularly. I'm having it right now, probably. But I loved PC games. Every time we went to stores with my parents, I'd always pick up a new PC game. But that's where I found my love for point-and-click adventures, like Broken Sword and Escape from Monkey Island, and the whole Monkey Island franchise, and LucasArts games. But another game that I really loved was by a developer called Calypso, who does the Tropico games. That was Commandos. Commandos was a stealth strategy game that was very much in the, I call it the great-grandfather of XCOM in many ways, because it was in that same tactic-style camera view, and it had a whole array of different characters with different abilities and different storylines for you to play through and work out how to get through missions as stealthy as possible. And it was a hardcore stealth game. Like if you messed up, you're probably dead. There's unless you had a character that had a tactic to be able to escape or to run away or hide, then you would probably have to restart the level and go again. And it was like chess. It was trying to think moves ahead of your opponents, trying to think ahead of somebody else. And for many players, that is a very alluring thing, and we get that nowadays with the success of XCOM. And so I was so happy to hear today that Calypso has actually re-released the rights for Commandos in a hope of bringing out a new reboot of the game for PC and hopefully for consoles, because I don't think anybody just releases PC games anymore. I think they always end up on consoles generally, but it's such a fantastic thing for me to see, and I'm super excited. And I remember I learned things I actually went back and learned a lot about the history of different militaries and different people from this game. My favorite character was the Green Beret, and I went and learned about the Green Berets of the English military, or the British military. Sorry, it's a difference, of the British military and how that developed and how that changed, and I found that really interesting. It was all down to this game, and I'm excited to see the changes that they make. I hope they continue to bring that, that character-based stealth mission games with the characters having a pretty good personality for the time, but they develop more with the likes of XCOM already being out. They use the inspiration of XCOM and use those games that have already come out as a platform to relaunch their game and produce more. I hope they remaster the old games and bring those out. I think that's, it's good money. Remastering games is very good money, so some people say. It's for many people, it's how they build their games, is by remastering the old version of the game and then putting that money into the development of a new game. So I hope more people get around Commandos. It is a fantastic strategy-based game. I think I loved it. I still love it. It is really amazing as a game. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that one. I hope you are too. So moving on, last week I started Tales of the Table as a part of a segment for the early late night. So I have been playing role-playing games, tabletop RPGs, D&D for probably the last decade now. So the last 10 years of my life, which is, it's not a long time in the scale of other RPG players, but I've put a lot of emphasis into this, and with the evolution of Tales of Thalden, with my growing more confident as a DM, as a player, I thought it was great to have a space to talk more about different events happening in games I'm currently playing in, how people can learn from that and include that in their own game. So I hope you enjoy it. Please tweet at me at your boy Ringo if you'd like to see more of this, if you want to see less of this, anything, just let me know, because I'm having a lot of fun with it. But so this week, I'm actually running at the minute. I've just started a campaign with a group of friends, and I think we're 3 or 4 sessions in now. And they've just got to a point where they're now in a bit of a murder mystery section where they have to prove an innocent man is innocent. Like they have to prove that a man that is currently being found guilty of a murder is innocent, or find clues to find out if he's not innocent. And the way this tale's been brought up and the way I built it was there are, when they initially talk to the imprisoned man, there was different people for them to talk to and different locations for them to go. And it brought up an interesting thing, and it's a common problem in RPGs, anything with multiplayer. It's a super big problem, is splitting the party. So this group has split the party in an interesting way, and it's not always negative. It makes some really interesting character points and changes to the narrative is how different characters view them. But in D&D largely, splitting the party is such a negative thing, because generally, if you split the party, whoever's going to be in the smallest group, or somebody's going to die, or something bad's going to happen, and half the group's not going to know what's happened. It's the case and fact of it. It's just half the group's not going to know that the other half is just dead, or been captured, or something absolutely terrible, or they've sold them out, and it's such an interesting factor. So the guys have, I'm going to say definitely on purpose, they have split up pretty instantly. They were talking with the guards. One of them instantly walked away and went to do something else, found some information about the case, and then grabbed one of the other party members and left to go do that. The other 3 party members then went further, went to the main crime scene of this place. 2 of them went into the crime scene, and one of them went to a different port, separate, which he spent most of his time. And it's quite interesting because the 2 characters that went to the main crime scene probably went to the most important piece of the whole puzzle. They went to the most important bit, and it's really interesting to see. And it's where metagame kind of control comes in as a DM, is making sure your other players that aren't in a situation are not either trying to affect or contribute what's going on for those 2 players. You're not getting in the way, or you're not helping, or you're not doing something that your character physically couldn't do, because that ruins the game a little bit and takes away from what's happening. So the 2 characters that kind of went to the main crime scene are not the smartest characters. The players themselves are very smart, but they're playing dumb characters, or they're playing these kind of over-the-top portrayals that have just minor, character flaws that don't suit them looking in the situation. And so they go up to the murder scene and they meet the mother of the victim. They talk to that person. There's a whole bunch of questions they could have asked that person that didn't really get asked and missed. There's a whole bunch of clues in that room that they picked up on someone, because as a DM, I kind of nudged them towards it. But other than that, they didn't pick up too much more. And to see the rest of the party then be like, ugh, I just want to, and you're just like, no, you can't. You can't change anything. You can't alter what's going on. And to see their faces, to see their frustration at the situation is always really good, because it means 2 things. It means they're seeing things in the narrative, and they're listening, and they're attentive to what's going on, but they can't affect what the other players are doing. They can't point them in the right direction. They can't do bits and pieces. And as Michael's just said in chat, am I researching for Tales of Thousand Season 2? I think any D&D game in general a is an experience, is a learning experience. You always develop, you always get better idea. And so to see this thing of this situation of splitting up the party that was really interesting and not the traditional, we split up the party, we went two different ways in a dungeon and somebody died. Which a lot of people hate because there's loot problems, there's dangerous creatures they find, there's metagame problems all over the place, and people don't enjoy that. But to see these people be interested in the story and be frustrated that they didn't go together, that they didn't go, and that's why I think there should be, if you're in a party, make sure as a party you're communicating with each other. Unless your character's, the edgelord douchebag who wants to run off on his own all the time. Nobody enjoys playing with that character. So stop playing that character unless it's really good. And then whatever. Don't be an edgelord though. But you keep going forward and you keep changing and make sure you always communicate. So there is an opportunity that maybe if I was in this party, we could have said, all right, let's go do everything else, but let's leave the crime scene to the whole group so everybody can be involved in that also. And then just always think about what the other player's involvement could mean for the story. But it's funny because at the same time, those two characters taking the main section of the investigation has changed the narrative. Each little group of people, so the one elf, half elf that's by himself, the dragonborn and the human, as well as another human and a turtle, they've all got different jigsaw pieces of the same puzzle. They've all got little jigsaws of the same puzzle pieces. Which I think is fucking awesome. I think it's so cool because now they have to come back and work together. And they all met back at the end of the session. They met back in the campsite. And they started talking through and they could start seeing little intersections kind of meet up. But they also started to ask questions that the answers for them for those questions were there for them. If they had just gone somewhere at a certain time, if they had just waited somewhere, the two that went into the crime scene ended up jumping out of a window instead of walking down the stairs to go check something or to leave normally. If they'd walked down the stairs, they would have seen a very big plot point. And so I find it super amusing that, the efforts of the two people, the small changes, the choices that people make, are quite delicate and intricate and interesting. So remember, splitting up the party doesn't just mean, going to a location weaker than you should be. It's not the case at all. Going there when it's weaker, when it's, it's not close, not the point. But splitting up the party for investigations, even though it might not be the best strategy when you're investigating, makes some interesting plot points. And DMs accept that. Players, maybe think for a second when you go somewhere alone. Should you bring somebody? It can be a big thing. It can be a little thing. There's very interesting sides to everything in D&D, and that's why I'm going to go over them and talk about them more during Tales from the Table if we continue this on early late nights, because it's a fantastic... D&D brings up so many questions, so many thoughts, and I'd love to make more conversation about that. So, moving on to our topic of the show. Our tidbit of the day. The internet kind of blew up this morning. The internet blew up massively. And then they rebuilt it, and then people started watching. Nathan Fillion has been a part of. I was going to say released, but it isn't his project. It's a project that he has been offered the main role in. That has been put together is an Uncharted fan film featuring Nathan Drake, James P. Sullivan. It's so good. It's so good. And Elena is there. It's so good. It's fantastic to see this kind of effort being put in. And Nathan Fillion as Nate Drake has been a talking point since the Uncharted series began, is that he'd be fantastic to play. And I was always like, yeah, like I understand Nathan Fillion's a good actor and he plays that role really well, but is it, is that really a character that he's going to play? Because we love Nate. Most people that play the Uncharted series love Nathan Drake. So is he going to do it? And I was a bit on the fence. And then the start of this, the first words that come out of his mouth are perfect. He says something like, "Hey, fellas," but the attention to detail that Fillion has put into the actual, the accent and voice of Nathan Drake is so perfectly fantastic. It's almost like Nolan's doing the voice, but really it's just Fillion's take on it. And it's so fantastic. And the dialogue's ripped not straight from the games, but it's very inspired by the games. It's very, you can tell whoever's written this script, you can tell whoever's put this together has a true love and passion for the game, for the series, and they've put it together. And I think at first in the shot that's just showing up, sorry audio listeners, I was a little unsure about it. I was like, "Oh, Nathan Fillion, are you really gonna?" And then he says those first lines, and he's just fantastic, and that continues. And it's honestly, it's like a snippet from the game. It's either the start, it's a middle point, it's a fantastic bit, where Drake has fooled the enemy for the first time, or one of the bad guys for the first time, and he's involved with them, and it's a plan by him and Sully, and how that plan develops, and him fighting his way out. I think it's fantastic. I think it's so good, and exactly, it is a question Michael's just asked in chat: when will Sony take it down? I desperately hope they don't. Desperately hope they don't, because I think if they were going to take it down, it'd be done already. They would have done it pretty quickly, but the internet has just taken to this, like something that takes to something else really quick, like like flies to a lamp, It's amazing to see, and it was a great project. And that this it feels like this is a small segment of a bigger story, a bigger project that could be there. And we've been umming and ahhing, and there's been halts and stops and starts and everything going on with the real Uncharted movie. And, they've got Tom Holland on. He's going to be doing young Drake. How's that going to fit in? Why isn't Nathan Fillion cast? All this stuff. Based on this, this series that since it's been out and since Uncharted 1/Uncharted 2, people have instantly been asking, this is like a movie series. This is like an action movie. And of course it's going to take to movies. Of course it is. But my question is, flies to a lamp? Yeah, when you put outside, you put like a lamp out, all the flies are just fucking bam. All the bugs, or everything. It's just bam, Michael, bam. But to see this and to see this project, and it reminds me of how often fan projects are fucking awesome. How great the fan projects are, and you're like, what? Why can't movies be like this? And it's happened a couple times recently for me. There was, this wasn't recent, this was several years ago, but there was the Mortal Kombat, kind of like the real life basis for where it was like Mortal Kombat, but they put it in a realism setting. And so they changed characters and reasons for why the characters were like that. And it was amazing. And all it was, there was like a 10-minute trailer for it. And then I think somebody tried to produce it and Kickstarter it to be made into a full show. I've never heard anything more about it. But that trailer for that Mortal Kombat was amazing. And I was so pumped to watch that. And then we have this now. And this is amazing. And this has been made with love and care. And somebody who truly loves Uncharted. And then there was also a couple years ago when the Power Rangers movie was released. At the same time, there was a Power Rangers movie released with Jason David Frank. It wasn't a movie, but it was like a fan film, a fan short of Tommy and how Tommy had gone bad and this alternate version. And it was so cool. I was so excited. I was like, man, that's the movie we want. That's it. That's the movie. And we didn't get it. I feel like every time Hollywood comes along and tries to... Oh, God. Oh, that was the wrong one. Every time Hollywood comes along and tries to make a gaming adaptation movie, they do it fucking terribly. But for many things, it's because they try and go too big with them. They try and go too massive, too blockbuster. They want the big set pieces. They want massive celebrities as the actors. They want massive, like CGI effects. They want all this stuff, and it comes off really shit. Watched Assassin's Creed. That movie isn't as bad, but it's still bad. It's still not Assassin's Creed to me. I'm okay with them not just retelling, but even in this movie, it throws back to the games. It points stuff out. It really, highlights some of the love that people have for games. And people keep getting these projects, and they keep going, oh yeah, I'm a true lover. I love the game. I love the game. And then it feels like producers get involved, or the actual studios get involved, and these movies get terrible. Street Fighter was a masterpiece. No, it was fucking terrible. I can't lie like that. That Jean-Claude Van Damme movie was actually really bad. But these things need to be taken with some love and care. Find somebody like this group of people and make a movie. People would flock to it and love it. And I really appreciate that theory, that thinking. And it gives me, this fan film gives me hope, but also it makes me worry. It gives me hope for the coming gaming-based projects that we definitely know about. So Uncharted gives me some hope for that, because I hope they take this and they use this as a bit of inspiration, a bit of, oh, that's how you bring Nathan Drake to life. That's what you do right there. Cool, awesome. Let's keep moving. And how do we make a younger character that grows into that? And then the other one's Witcher, the Netflix series that's being worked on, which I fucking really hope is really good, because The Witcher deserves a fantastic port. Deserves as much attention to detail as possible, because the game itself plays that much attention to detail. And I'm excited for both of them. I'm also worried. And I think Netflix does generally a really good job with stuff, so I'm not so much worried about The Witcher, but I'm worried about too much involvement by the studios ruining it. And I hope that's not the case. I really hope that's not the case. So I hope you've had a fantastic show. I've had a fantastic show. This has been Early Late Nights episode 34 with me, your host, Ciaran and Marchin. You can find it live every Tuesday and Friday right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network at 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you enjoyed the show, please follow the channel. Give us a like, subscribe to us. Go check out our website at explosionnetwork.com. Come chat to me at your boy Ringo on Twitter, or at ExplosionPod on Twitter as well for the Explosion Network's own account. And please, go ahead. If you can't make it to the live shows, I got you. I got you, fam. I got you, man. What we're going to do, we're going to upload the video VOD. We're going to upload it the following day at about 7 o'clock on Wednesday, 7 o'clock on Saturday. YouTube.com/Explosion Network if you want to watch the VOD. Or if you just want to listen to my beautiful voice, check us out on all good podcasting services, because it's going to be good. And it's a good show. And you should follow and review and like and do everything you can. Tell your friends. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic night, and I'll see you Friday.